Somewhere in the world right now, a grown adult is standing waist-deep in a bin of ice, screaming, filming it, and sincerely calling it self-improvement. Welcome to the cold plunge, the trend that turned voluntary suffering into an entire personality. It's on your feed, it's in your gym, and there's a solid chance someone you know will not shut up about it. So is it a legitimate health tool backed by real science? Or an extremely elaborate, extremely cold way to feel superior to other people at 6 in the morning? Stick around because the honest answer is more useful and funnier than either side wants to admit. Here's what actually happens when you hit freezing water, and it happens fast. Your blood vessels slam shut to protect your core. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing goes ragged, and your nervous system floods you with a rush of stress chemicals, including a big surge of noradrenaline, which sharpens focus, and a slower, longer rise in dopamine, your brain's reward chemical. That dopamine rise is the secret source of the whole trend. It's why people climb out of the ice feeling euphoric and invincible for hours, like they found a hidden setting in their own body. And that part is completely real. So the question was never whether cold water does something dramatic. Obviously it does. The question is whether that something is genuinely good for you or just really, really intense. The case for it from Team Ice. 1. That mood and focus boost is powerful and real, calm, sharp, weirdly accomplished for hours. 2. It's a discipline machine, doing something hard and miserable first thing on purpose when every cell is begging you not to build a mental toughness that leaks into your whole day. Once you've climbed into the ice, that scary work email suddenly feels like an NPC-level problem. 3. Some evidence suggests it may help with recovery and reducing inflammation. And 4, the honest one. It's basically free, and it makes you feel, however briefly, like an absolute Viking. But Team Ice's strongest point is psychological, and they'll admit it if you press them. They'll concede the plunge might not be a magic cure. Then they'll make the argument that actually lands. Doing one deliberately hard thing every morning changes your entire relationship with discomfort for the rest of the day. You've already faced the worst moment of your day on purpose, and won aura points banked before 7 a.m. That's why the people who start plunging tend to stick with it when most wellness trends get abandoned in a fortnight. It's less about the water and more about proving to yourself daily that you're someone who does hard things. And that is not nothing. Now the skeptics, team warm-blooded, smirking from under a very cozy blanket. Point 1. A huge amount of the dramatic, life-changing hype traces back to a small handful of extremely enthusiastic podcast hosts, not a mountain of solid replicated evidence. Go looking for large, rigorous human studies proving cold plunges transform your health, and the pile is noticeably thinner than the marketing implies. Point 2, and this stings the gym crowd. Jump in right after lifting, and the cold can actually blunt the muscle growth you just spent an hour earning. That same anti-inflammation effect the fans love can at the wrong moment quietly cancel your gains. Timing matters, and a lot of people are getting it backwards. Point 3 is the quiet killer. It makes me feel amazing is also true of a long list of things that don't require a bin of ice at dawn. Exercise does it. Sunlight does it. Simply not being freezing does it. So how much of the magic is the cold itself, and how much is the dopamine of doing something intense, plus the placebo of believing you're optimizing into a superhuman? And point 4, which matters. For some people, cold plunging is genuinely risky. That sudden shock stresses the heart. And for anyone with certain heart conditions, this stops being a wellness trend and becomes a hazard. This is not a just push through it situation for some folks that advice is dangerous. There's also a smarter way to think about who this is actually for. If you already exercise sleep okay and just want a sharp morning mood boost and a daily hit of I can do hard things, a cold plunge, or honestly just a cold shower, is a cheap and effective little ritual. But if your sleep, diet, and stress are a mess, an ice bath is not the missing piece. It's a dramatic distraction from the boring fundamentals that would actually move the needle. And if you have any kind of heart condition, it's genuinely not for you at all without a doctor's blessing. The plunge isn't magic and it isn't poison. It's a tool that suits some people and their goals and does very little for others except make a great video. Quick myth round, because your feed is clogged with them. Colder is always better. No, brutally cold water isn't more beneficial, just more dangerous. It melts fat by activating brown fat. The effect is real, but tiny. Nobody is plunging their way to a six-pack. Longer is better, it isn't. It just creeps toward risky. And a cold shower is for the weak. A coldish shower gets you most of the mood hit for none of the chest freezer budget. You don't have to suffer more to win more. It's worth being honest about where the biggest claims come from, because it explains a lot. A handful of hugely popular podcasters and biohacking influencers turned cold exposure into a full movement, complete with protocols, timers, and a faint moral superiority. And when a message gets repeated by confident people with enormous audiences, it starts to feel like settled science long before the science is actually settled. That's not a conspiracy, it's just how trends outrun evidence. The recovery and inflammation research is genuinely interesting, but it's early, it's mixed, and it's nowhere near as tidy as a 30-second clip makes it sound. Take the muscle thing, because it's the most useful example. If your goal is building strength and size, the inflammation after a workout is partly how your body signals that it's time to adapt and grow. Blast that signal with ice straight afterwards, and you may quietly mute the very process you were training for. But if your goal is simply recovering faster between events, say you're an athlete playing back-to-back games, that same dampening effect might actually help you. Same ice bath opposite verdict depending entirely on what you're training for. That's exactly the kind of nuance that never survives a viral post. And here's a genuinely underrated point. A lot of what people credit to the cold might actually come from everything surrounding it. Getting up early, doing something hard first thing, breathing deliberately to stay calm in the shock, committing to a daily habit, and following through. Those are all powerful, mood-lifting, discipline-building things on their own, and you'd get most of them from an early walk, a coldish shower, and a bit of controlled breathing, no ice bath required. The plunge might be less of a magic ingredient and more of a very dramatic delivery system for habits that were quietly doing the real work all along. So here's where the ice melts into the truth. Cold plunging almost certainly gives you a real reliable boost to mood and alertness, and for a lot of people the discipline habit genuinely slaps. But it's probably not the sweeping miracle a certain loud corner of the internet insists it is, and the real edge over just a coldish shower is murkier than the ice bath salesmen admit on camera. So if you love it, it's improving your mornings and your heart's healthy, plunge away, you magnificent frostbitten Viking. But if you're only doing it because a man on a podcast implied you're weak otherwise, know that a brisk walk outside is free, does most of the same good things, and doesn't require a defibrillator on standby. So, practically if you want to try it sensibly, start with cold showers before you buy a chest freezer for your back garden. Same idea, a fraction of the commitment, and nobody has to know. Don't plunge straight after a workout if muscle is the goal. Leave a gap. Keep it short. You want a quick hit, not a genuine flirtation with hypothermia. And if you have any heart condition, talk to an actual doctor before shocking your system for fun. Then, and only then, go feel like a Viking. So, are you Team Ice or Team Cosy? Subscribe to Health You Decide, tell me your pick in the comments, and stay frosty.